So I fully and completely get the idea of the play-in tournament. And it's one of those things where when you put it on a board and you're doing a brainstorming session and you ask somebody to flush it out. No, hey, I like it. No bad ideas. Flush it out. Okay, so here's the deal. Instead of 1 through 8, 7, 8, 9, 10, they all play. And the 7 and 8 seed, well, they have to lose twice, only win once in order to advance. And here's how we kind of talk about, hey, but what do you think? And it looks really good up on a board. Hey, that makes sense. Now you have 10 teams essentially in some sort of playoffs, and then maybe 2 more teams that fall just short of that play-in tournament that want to get in the playoffs. That's 4 more teams that are going to be in or competing for a playoff berth or a play-in berth. The likelihood is on a yearly average, 4 more teams are more engaged for the entirety of the season. And then we have this handful of games where we create inventory. And, oh, yeah, by the way, we give the best teams extra rest, and then we go and play. Again, on paper or on a whiteboard, sounds like a great idea. But I'm just asking you honestly. Is there any sort of energy towards any of these teams playing tonight that you're like, I can't wait to watch? And I am your P1 fan. And I talked to lots of my, now being obviously a Division I men's head college coach, I talked to a lot of college coaches who are like, I have 0 remaining on the bandwidth right now for the NBA, but I do love NBA playoff basketball. This is just not playoff basketball. Now, Miami's playing Atlanta. I think this is going to be the last. If Atlanta loses, this is the last time Trae Young wears a Hawks jersey. It's my guess. Right? He's up for one of those massive, massive extensions this summer. And if they lose tonight to Miami at home, Miami who dominated Chicago on the road, going back 2 nights ago, if they lose at home, I'm guessing, I have no knowledge of it, but I'm guessing they tell Trae Young, hey, dude, we love you. We're just not signing you to one of those max extensions, where Trae Young's agent be like, yeah, we're not in their future plans. Let's find a new home. So you have Trae Young, one of, if not the most popular Atlanta Hawk ever, taking on the Miami Heat. You have Memphis and one of the most popular players going back a couple years ago. Obviously, his popularity has waned with some of his gun nonsense and Ja Morant. Anthony Davis, who has been, when healthy, as dominant as Nico Harrison would hope he could be. And the Mavericks were in the NBA Finals last year. Granted, you don't have Kyrie. Obviously, you don't have Luka, so they're a very different team. But did you even know that Dallas played Memphis until I mentioned it? Did you even know that Miami played Atlanta? Do you even care? And so my point is not that the NBA playoff tournament totally missed the mark. It didn't, right? It kept more teams engaged. It does give us a win or go home sort of couple of games. And it does give them more inventory, and more inventory means more money, because now when you have Peacock coming to the fold, you have ESPN, obviously, you have NBC next year, you have more games to sell, more money to make, more money to spend around. Everybody's happier. But, I mean, I woke up this morning going like, is it not the playoffs yet? Can we just get this thing started? Byron, what do you think, bud?
I actually think that there's a group of fans that probably don't even care about the first round outside of maybe the Lakers-Timberwolves series and maybe the Warriors-Rockets series. New York and the Knicks will probably be loving the Garden and the Pistons series, and Detroit excited they're back in it. But I even think that the first round sometimes leaves a lot to be desired for the NBA and the NBA playoffs, because for the winners tonight, we think that they're probably just going to get beaten by the 1 seed again, even though it's not happened every time in history. We've seen some upsets. But I will say this, Doug, in how you started out in laying out, I completely agree that it gives you that NCAA tournament feel. But I don't think that it is stop teams from tanking And because we still had 10 really bad teams in the NBA this year. So that hasn't changed. But what I think it has done is it's changed the middle of the conferences. And I think that is very important, where you do actually have teams with some value, whether it's 6, 7, or 8, or 9. In the West this year, it was crazy. We're now down the stretch, and what was happening on the final day of the NBA regular season did have a lot of ramifications, so much so that Golden State ended up losing their game on Sunday and fell into the play-in tournament. I think that's something that teams were trying to avoid. So I do think that the NBA with the play-in tournament made that 7-8 range, 7-8-9 range valuable, because you're trying to get up to the 6th spot. You're trying to get one of those top 6 seeds. And a domino effect of that is 4, 5, 6 now have become important because they don't want to fall into 7, 8, 9, 10. And it may not be the magical brew of all of it, but I do think that they have changed the way we look at the middle of the NBA. And the prime example is we used to look at the decision to be the 8 seed or get a chance of the lottery as a real dilemma, right? Even if it was a 0.5% chance, we're saying, well, why would you want to be the 8 seed when you're going to get run by the top seed? You could get a 5% chance to be in the lottery. And I think that has kind of gone by the wayside because of what they've done with this play-in tournament.
Sam, are you any more engaged in what's going on in the playoffs because of this?
No.
Yeah.
I wait for I really wait for like the first round to get started. Maybe a few games in before I'm paying attention.
Yeah,
and that's my point about the first round. Is I don't even think people care about the first round. So how
they don't. But again, I think we're actually in agreement over. Hey, we both truly believe that there is good intentions there. There are things that they're trying to do here. I just don't think. I don't want to say the bad overweighs the good, but the part that no one cares overwhelms the good parts to it. Like, literally, it in many ways mirrors the first 4. We love the first 4, but the first 4 ratings like pale in comparison to the rest of the NCAA tournament. Part of it is it's played on True TV, and it's on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's not on your normal bracket or whatever. But this is very similar. Like, it is, you're right, Dan. It hasn't stopped the bottom teams from tanking, but it's kept a couple more teams engaged, and some of it is more perception than reality. Right? They want to give the perception that more teams are involved and close to the playoffs. Hey, there's a reason to come to those regular season games. But again, when you look at the net, you're like, is this really helping the game?
I don't think that the win is tonight. Like, tonight's not the night they cash in the chips. The win was at the end of the regular season with these teams jockeying for position and trying to get in a spot where they weren't in the play-in tournament.
Sure.
And I think that that's where the win is. The win is in late March to early April to position yourself. And again, for the West, when you had the Lakers being 50-32 as the 3 seed and the Grizzlies being 48-34, a 2-game difference, and being the 8 seed and having to play tonight just to play in the tournament, I think what we saw over the stretch run of the NBA regular season was the reason. Heck, look at the Clippers. They went on an 8-game win streak. They were sitting there hovering in the play-in tournament. Now they're sitting there as the 5 seed. So I think that's where it's added value, and maybe not in tonight's game because of what is. I mean, it is only the 8 seed, and again, we think they're going to get run. And I would also say that even if it was a first-round series, we probably wouldn't care as much, and that's Sam's point. But I do think that what it has done is it's made the stretch run of the regular season much more important than just, all right, let's just rest up and turn it on in the playoffs. I don't think that you can do that anymore.
This is Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. Jay Stu, you yearn for great content. 2 things you want in your life: great content, and whatever the opposite of BS is the play-in great content.
I don't think it's great content. And I reject the motivations behind it. I think Dan brings up the point that this was kind of done to deter the tanking. We also, earlier in the week, have Adam Silver's original explanation that it was also done to keep teams, and by definition teams, players, engaged throughout more of the season. So if you're doing math here now, you have the NBA Cup that was installed in December to keep players' interest. You have the All-Star Game that has been tweaked 3 or 4 times in the last 3 years because you want to keep players interested. And then you install this play-in tournament to keep players in it. And to me, that is an indictment on the league that you're running if you need to place in these gimmicks to keep people interested. So I completely reject the premise onto itself. One point that you made earlier in your take, Doug, when you have the meetings and somebody says there's no such thing as bad ideas, I'm going to fight that one. There are such things as bad ideas. What about if you're trying to empower, like, I don't know, a group of coworkers, and you let the guy in the room that does have bad ideas, and then you get sidetracked by his bad idea, and then it overtakes the meeting, and then it becomes completely counterproductive.
Oh, it's awful. It's the worst. I've actually had that. It's terrible. Go ahead, Dan. Somebody's talking to you here. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think that Jason's point is brilliant in terms of again what this is, and it's a stepping out of seeing the forest through the trees. I don't know if Adam Silver is doing that, but he's dead on 100%. We're catering everything towards trying to make things more interesting. And at what point do you just have to kind of put it on the shoulders of the players, or of just accepting what the product is? And it's not meant to say that the NBA is awful and that the NBA is bad.
No, but like, why do you have to? If it's already entertaining, why do you have to try and make it more entertaining?
Yes.
I mean, it's just so artificially so.
Absolutely, and it's like every time I go to the store, I can't give my kid a present because like I'm not going to give him a gift if he's crying because we went to the store and he didn't get anything. And I feel like almost to that point of what Jason is saying is, yeah, now this is the third thing in the wording of what Adam Silver has said of trying to keep things interesting and trying to keep players engaged, which, by the way, to my point of the 4 through the 10 or the 11, however you want to look at it, I think that it has. I think that players didn't want to play in the play-in tournament, or teams didn't want to play in the play-in tournament, so you try to turn it on to get in that top 6. I feel that's been accomplished. But the bigger picture that Jason brings up is now this is the third thing in the third segment of your season that you're trying to change, and yet they want to tell us that everything is fine with the game and that we're the ones that are complaining. There's something wrong with us because we're complaining about the product.
Fair enough. Those are really, really good points.